Hi everyone, my name is Mr. Jones and I will be your Geography A-level teacher next year when you decide to choose Geography at St. Joseph's Comprehensive School. I thought I'd take this opportunity just to really take a whistle-stop tour on some of the things that we study in Geography and some of the things that I find really interesting. So one of the biggest sections in the whole of the course is looking at tectonics. We look at patterns of earthquakes. We look at patterns of volcanoes. We look at patterns of supervolcanoes. We have a look at what would happen if Yellowstone were actually to erupt. But we also look at patterns of tsunamis. And one for your watch list, I would like everybody, before you actually come to Geography level, to have a look at this film, The Impossible. So The Impossible is a film about the 2004 Boxing Day tsunami, a huge 9.0 earthquake that took place just off the coast of Sumatra, causing a wave around about, at its highest, about 80 feet in height. And that wave bombarded into the east coast of India, it smashed into Thailand, and ultimately resulted in around about 250,000 people losing their lives. But this film is a great film to really get you to think about what it would be like to be in a tsunami. One of the other sections that we study that's really close to my heart is climate change and looking at climate change patterns throughout history. So we can see here on this graph, which looks at atmospheric carbon dioxide levels, that throughout time there have been increases and decreases in the amount of carbon dioxide in our atmosphere. And it's so interesting how they actually find this out. So there are some places on Earth, up in Greenland and down in Antarctica, that have ice that was formed around about 800,000 years ago. And what scientists do is they dig out that ice up to 800,000 years ago. And what's more interesting is that when that ice was formed, it actually preserved the air around it at that time and formed tiny little bubbles. And scientists can go into that and extract the air, and they can tell exactly how much carbon dioxide was in the air 800,000 years ago. And as a result of that, we can tell exactly what the temperature was like around about 800,000 years ago. Now then, with that information, we can project into the future. And the IPCC comes up with these climate models, and they say that if we carry on as business as usual, which is the yellow line, then our temperatures by 2100 are going to increase by around about 4.5 degrees Celsius. If we drop our carbon dioxide levels slightly, we're going to increase by around about 3 degrees Celsius. And if we drastically reduce our carbon dioxide emissions, we are still going to increase the temperature by around about 2 degrees Celsius. And so we are going to have to deal with the fact that we're going to have increased fires like we had in the ones in Australia. We're going to have increased drought. And we're going to have increased amount of extreme weather like hurricanes and tornadoes taking place. Now, the one theory says that the Gulf Stream could actually be affected by climate change. Now, the Gulf Stream is responsible for bringing nice warm weather to the British Isles, which means that we don't have essentially about a mile of ice above our head. Now then, the melting of Greenland could actually affect the Gulf Stream, and this could shut down. And this was the basis of the Hollywood movie The Day After Tomorrow. Now, The Day After Tomorrow, although a Hollywood movie, is actually based on sound science. And so, second on your watch list, guys, I'd like you to have a look at The Day After Tomorrow. Two other films that I'd really like you to watch is An Inconvenient Truth and the follow-up then to An Inconvenient Truth as well, both by the ex-Vice President Al Gore. We also have a look at the dairy industry, and we look at how the dairy industry might actually be responsible for a huge proportion of climate change. And so I tried to get every pupil to watch this film here. It's called Cowspiracy. It's available on Netflix, and it really looks an in-depth look at the dairy industry around the world and how much it actually contributes to climate change. And ultimately, when you choose geography at St. Joseph's, I don't want you to just learn the content and that be it. I actually want you to act on it. I want you to become active citizens of the world. So because we study climate change in such depth, I try to encourage for 1 week of the year, and it's just 1 week, for all pupils to either try to become vegan or to become vegetarian for a week, to try to limit our carbon footprint. So there we have it, guys. A whistle-stop tour on some of the things that I find really, really interesting, but obviously there is numerous other things that we study that are also just as interesting. I really look forward to seeing you in September, and I hope everyone's doing well. Take care, guys.